everyone, this is Yolanda from the All Crafts channel, and today I'm going to be showing you how to do this little overlay top that you could just wear over like another shirt or on top of a bathing suit, whatever you want. In the summer you could just wear it over a bathing suit or something like that, and in the winter you could just wear it over a shirt or a tank top, whatever you want to use it. It is on the redheart.com website. And it is pattern number LW2624. It's one of the double stitch twins shirts, and I know a lot of you have asked for an open kind of overlay top like this. So to begin, I'm going to be using a size I hook, which is a number 9. It's 5.5 millimeters. The pattern calls for the yarn that is Red Heart soft yarn, and this yarn is medium weight yarn. It's a weight number 4. And you're going to need, depending on what size you're making, anywhere from 2 to 4 balls. The pattern is written for the small size, which is a 30-inch bust. I'm going to be making it in the extra large size, which is 40 and a half size bust. And you would just, what I usually do is I just highlight which one I'm going to be working on so that I can know what to do. If you print out the pattern, then when you follow along, you would just do, instead of, like, say if you were making the small size, that's the first one when we begin, you would chain 50 to do your small size. If you're doing the middle, it would be 62, the large 68. I'm doing the extra large, so I'm going to start with 74 chains. So this is how you would just read how many chains to do, and I'm just going to go through the whole steps. And remember, you're just going to be changing your number of chains stitches depending on what is highlighted. Okay, so first I'm going to go and I'm going to get my highlighter. I'm going to highlight all the stitches that I'm going to be working or using. So here, since I know that I'm using the extra large size, which is this one here, right? So then that comes in the 1, 2, 3, 4. So here, 4th place, there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. The bust will be 40 and a half. And my length is going to be 21 and a half inches. You can make it longer. You can make it as long as you want. And then here on my stitches, then I'm going to go ahead and highlight the number of stitches I need for the size that I'm making. So here, if you're making small, you would highlight the 50, medium 62, large 68, extra large 74, 2x 86, and 3x would be 98. So you choose. Make sure you highlight the one you're going to be using. So I know that the stitch indicated 1, 2, 3 on the 4th place is the one that I'm going to be using. So here I'm going to go through my pattern. Whenever there's stitches, here's 1, 2, 3, 4. I know that this for me will be 12. Highlight the one that you will need so that when we're working together, you'll know exactly which space you're supposed to do it. And this is how I'm going to be doing here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need to make 27 rows. Okay, so highlight the number of rows you're going to be making. It's really a lot more helpful when you prepare ahead of time. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4. I know for the back I will need 92, and so I'm going to go ahead and prepare the whole pattern this way so that I can know exactly how many stitches I'm going to be making. Print out the pattern, and as you work along, if I'm saying to begin chain 74, you're going to know that that's for the extra large. If your other different sizes, just highlight your space and you'll know which stitches to make. So let me go ahead and finish this, and then we will begin. Okay everyone, to begin, I'm going to be using this beautiful color. I really love the way it looks. And for the size that I'm using, remember I asked you to print out your size. I'm going to be here, it starts to begin. We're going to work the top front first, and I'm going to chain 74 chains. You're going to chain whichever number you need for your size. Remember, we need to make a little slip loop first. And I'm going to be using this purple color. I just love it. It's called Passion or Passion Fruit. I don't remember the exact name. So I'm going to begin with 74 chains. To remember our chain, we yarn over, meaning we wrap the yarn over the hook, and we're going to pull through our loop, and that is our first chain. The loop on the hook does not count as a chain until after you work it, meaning after you pull the loop of your yarn. So that's number 2. I'm going to go ahead and make 74 chains. If you're making a size small, you would make 50 chains. If you're making a size medium, you would do 62. For a size large, you would do 68. Extra large is what I'm making, so it's 74. 2X, you would make 86 chains, and 3X, you would do 98. So go ahead and do your chains, and we'll come back and work on our first row. Okay everyone, I've done the 74 chains, and so here what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making a group of double crochets. Here we're going to, on the third chain from the hook, 1, 2, and 3, we're going to do 1 double crochet. Our chain 3 is going to count as that first, this other here is going to count as a first double crochet. So here I'm going to yarn over, going to the third chain, pull out, you'll have 3 loops of yarn on your hook. Now I'm going to go through the first 2 and then the next 2. Okay, so this chains will count as my first double crochet. Then here's the second one, 1 double crochet, and then 1 more double crochet in the chain next to it. Okay, because we're going to be doing groups of 3 double crochets next to each other to simulate kind of like the granny square type of fabric. Let me see if I could get, I don't know, can't seem to get that just right here, the camera. So here now, after we do that, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and now I'm going to skip 3 chains, 1, 2, 3. On the 4th chain, I'm going to do a double crochet, just like that. It's here. Your first row will be the hardest because there's really nothing to grab onto. Here's 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to do 1 double crochet in the next 2. So here's 1. And then another one in the next chain. So here, it's just I'm having trouble here because there's nothing to grab onto. So we're going to be making groups of 3 double crochet chains, okay? So here, this one counts as our first 2 and 3. You skip 3 chains, work 3 chains and skip the 3 in the bottom. Then do 1, 2, and 3, 1 in each of the next 3. You're going to chain 3 again, 1, 2, and 3. Once again, you skip 3 chains on the bottom, 1, 2, 3. So here's the 4th, and here's where I will begin making my next group of 3 double crochets, 1 in each of the next 3 chains. So here's 1 double crochet, 2, and 3, the last one there. Okay, so this just repeats all the way to the end of your row. Here once again, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 3 chains, 1, 2, 3. On the 4th chain, you start doing your group of 3 double crochets. You're going to work that all the way to the end until you get to the end. At the end, when you have 4 chains left, you're going to skip 3 chains, and then at the end, you're only going to work 1 double crochet in the very first chain. You won't have enough chains to do all 3. So here, I want you to repeat this all the way to the end. So here I did my 74 chains. On the 3rd chain from the hook, I did a double crochet and 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 chains. Then I chained 3, left 3 unworked, and then in the next 3 chains I did 1 double crochet, chain 3, repeat the same thing all the way across. When I get to the end here, after I do my last, here's my last 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, and 4. My last group will be here. So then I'm going to skip the last 3, 1, 2, 3, and then work 1 double crochet in the last chain. So go ahead and repeat that all the way across, and we'll work our last double crochet together. Okay, I'm coming here to the end, and as you can see, I've done my last group of 3 double crochet. So here I have 4 chains left. Now here, sorry guys, I'm trying to get this to be a little bit better focus. I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then I'm going to skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and in my last chain here, I'm going to do a double crochet. This is going to be the end of row 1. Okay, And somebody said if you have, like, you made a mistake, then you could just try to do 2 in one of these. It's not going to be a big problem. To go to row 2, you're going to repeat row 2 for, I'm going to be doing it for 27 rows, but you're going to look at your pattern. It's either going to be 25, 26, 27, or 28, depending on the size you're doing. If you're doing the size small, you'll do 25. If you're doing small and medium, it's 25. The large is 26. The extra large is what I'm making, 27 rows. The 2x and 3x are 28 rows. So here, to go up to row 2, I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Now I turn my work over, and in this first space here, this counts as my first double crochet. I'm going to do 2 double crochets into that space. So here's 1 and then 2, just like that. Okay, and now to go into the next to my next group, I'm going to be skipping over these chains, these double crochets. So you just chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Skip this group of double crochets and go into your next space, and in here you're going to do your 3 double crochets. Okay, 2 and 3. You'll repeat this all the way across. So here, to move over my next set, I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Go into my next space here and do my 3 double crochets. 2. Oops. Let me get some more yarn here. And 3. Continue all the way. 1, 2, 3, and then do your next group. So you're going to just have your little spaces in between. In between your 3 chain spaces, you're going to have 3 chain. What I mean is, like here, when there's a space of 3 chains, that's where you're going to be doing your 3 sets of double crochet. And then to go over your groups, you're going to chain 3. So it's really easy. It's just going to make like this fabric looking thing to the end. When you get all the way to the last row, you're going to work your last 3 double crochets in your space here. You're going to you're going to work your last 3 double crochets here, and then you're going to chain 3. You're going to skip, and you're going to skip these double crochets, and you're just going to do 1 double crochet on top of here. Okay, when you're going to continue working your 3 double crochets in your spaces and then chain 3. Do your last 3 double crochet here, and then we'll come back and we'll work this last stitch together, and then you're going to be repeating that row 2 as many times as you need. Okay everyone, here I've come to the end of row 2. So here now I'm just going to chain, this is my last set here. So here now at the end, you'll see that we have 2 double crochets and then our starting chain. Here you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. You're going to skip these first 2, and your last stitch is going to be on top of that turning chain. Okay, so it's right here. There will be your 1 double crochet, just like that. Now we're going to turn from here. You're just going to repeat row 2, the same thing we did here for your number of rows. So here you would just chain 3, 1, 2, 3, turn your work over, and here you're going to start, this counts as your double crochet. So here you're going to count, just do 2 double crochets into that first space, just like you did at the beginning of the row. Now you will continue by chaining 3 and then working your 3 double crochets into your chain 3 spaces, just like that. When you get to the end of the row, you're going to be, oops, here, let me see here. When you get to the end of the row here, then you're going to skip these 2. You're going to do your 3 double crochets, chain 3, skip these 2, and then do your last double crochet on top of that turning chain here. 1, 2, right there. Okay, and you will continue that until you have your required rows. So go ahead and finish your front. The back is worked in the same way, exactly like this front, except that instead of having, you know, like for myself, instead of having 74 chains to start with, I'm going to start with 92. But it's the same exact pattern that we do here for the front and back. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this off, come back, and then we can start off that other one, but the other one will just be same exact pattern, making your, this is what we call granny square. I call it granny square fabric. So go ahead and finish that, and we'll come back and then we'll sew our pieces together. Okay everyone, so now this is the finished front. Remember the back, we do it the same way, except that you're going to use more, a longer foundation chain when you began. So when we do the back here, instead of, depending on the size you have, this is kind of weird because this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm not sure what the extra chain there is, extra count there. Anyway, so I did mine. I just went ahead and did my back piece. I started with 92 stitches. So depending on what your size is, see the small 74, medium 80, large 86, extra large 92, then 2x 98, 3x 90, 104. So I'm not sure why it has an extra. That may be an error there. I'm hoping that's what it is. So anyway, you're gonna do, I just did my back piece in the same way. Follow, it's made exactly like the front. So I showed you the rows 1 and 2. That's the same thing you're gonna do for the back, rows 1 and 2, but you're gonna repeat. I also did 27 rows, so 27 rows on the front and back piece. So this is the same thing, except the only difference is that we're starting out with more chains here. Okay, so I did my front and back. Now this one starts finishing the edge this way, and you said it's gonna have 168 stitches or whatever you're gonna have there, but when I combine those are actually the combined front and back stitches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work a little bit out of sequence than what the instructions are coming out here, because I've done this one before, the size small, and this, the way I'm going to show you guys, it's a lot easier to do. Okay, so I hope you will go ahead and bear with me as I do that. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to sew my pieces together first. Okay, so here, this is, if you're looking here, when you finished, you actually finished on the right side. Okay, so this is the right side for the back, this is the right side for the front. So I'm going to flip over my piece, the front or back, it doesn't matter, either one, but I want my right sides together, so I want the pretty sides facing each other. Okay, and here what you're going to be doing is that you're going to be pinning. I'm going to pin these to keep them from moving. And if you're really good at working without having to use safety pins, then that's okay, then you can do that. I'm going to pin my ends, top edges together here, just so that I know that it's all arranged there, and then my other edge here. And you don't have to do this. This is just the way I did it, and I found it a little bit more useful. Actually, you can just pin it this way so it could hold better. Let me do that the other side too here. See here, and the reason I'm going to do this is because we're going to be sewing on either side, both sides, but I'm going to work for my size. If you're doing the extra large, you're going to leave 11 inches open from the top. So if you're doing the small, medium, or large, it's just 10 inches. The extra large, 2x and 3x, is 11 inches. And what this is going to be, these are our arm places for our arms. Okay, so the armholes here, and just make sure that you level it off. See that, make sure this row here and row there, and just make sure they're even, so you don't want to make them crooked. And then, so here I'm laying it out to make sure my rows are following each other there. And then I'm going to measure 11 inches. I have a little tape measure. You could use a ruler, whatever you have. So here, I'm going to measure from this 11 inches here. Okay, so it's going to be to this row. Okay, and that's going to be to give me space for my arms. Okay, so what I do after I do that, just making sure all my rows are even. That was to about here, I think. So let me measure that again. I need a helper. No. So here, ooh, I was a little bit off to there. You're going to make sure that it's all even. And then here, on both sides, okay, I'm going to put my pin just above the 11 inches there. And now I know that I have to sew from the sides from here and then stop at the where my pin is at. Okay, so from here to the bottom, from the bottom to here, I'm going to sew on both sides. So I'm going to repeat this on the other side. Now I already know what row it is, so I can just follow with my finger to my row. So here is where I'm going to put my marker, the pin, and I'm going to follow the same thing on the other side. I'm just going to put this here now as I arrange all my rows to make sure they're even. So there's row 1, 2, so go down, and I'm going to measure, make sure I have the same rows here, which I do. So now I'm going to put my pin, safety pin on, but I'm going to measure to be sure. Remember, I want to make sure that they're both even. So here, I'm going to measure from there, and oh, see, let me see here, let me put this right. Okay, so that's a little, just at 11 inches there. And now I can hold this together better. Oops, I hope I can take this pin off. Safety pin. And if you don't have a safety pin, you can just tie a little string there to hold it. Put a little marker, a stitch marker. So these we're going to leave open. These are going to be the arm for our armholes. This is going to come up. We're going to sew a little bit here for our, this is going to be the over our head for our shoulders and all that. Okay, so here, once you have these, both of your sides together, stitched, sorry guys, pinned, then what we're going to do, remember the right sides are on the inside. I'm going to go ahead and here I'm going to begin sewing on every little chain, every space here, joining both pieces together to the top. Okay, so let me go ahead and get ready, get my yarn and my needle ready. We'll come back and we'll sew the sides. And after we sew the sides, then I'm going to do the bottom trim and the top trim. And then it's so much easier that way than the way they're suggesting. Okay, so go ahead and pin your piece. It's either going to be 10 inches. Okay, you're either going to leave 10 inches free or 11 inches free, depending on the size you're using. Make sure that you make them even here. So if you want to see, are they even, you could even open it up like this. Watch, not really opening it up, but when you look at it like this, you're going to see that your rows match up. So here's row 1, 2, see, just like that. And if you want, you can count them to make sure you say like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I do count them to make sure I've grabbed the same amount, because you don't want your garment to be lopsided. That would, after all this work, you don't want that to happen. So go ahead and pin your sides just like that. Put your right sides together, pin your top here, your arm openings here, and having this together like this really helps. I think it helps me because it helps me be able to make sure everything's laid out evenly. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll come back and we'll sew our sides. Okay, I've put my yarn on my yarn needle here, and I didn't do it too long because I don't want it to make a knot and get knotted up, and this is should be long enough. So here is where we finished our bottom row. So this is the right sides are together. I'm going to begin on top of that 1, 2, on top of my first little which would have been my double crochet there. I'm going to pull out my yarn. Okay. And here, I'm going to go ahead and go into that first double crochet. right there. And if you have a better way, like you're more comfortable sewing it, then do it the way you're comfortable. Okay, so here I'm going to take advantage of this this tail here. I'm going to tie these together. You don't have to do that if you don't feel comfortable. Just hold that there. And then these tails I will sew, either I will work in when I come back and do the bottom trim. So don't worry about that tail right now. It's going to be sewn in. So here I want to make sure that I'm going to be sewing my rows evenly, meaning that you don't want them to be like showing like this or crooked. And you can tell if you open it up this way, you'll be able to see that here, let me see if I can put my hand under there. Can you see that this is the first row? And so this will be here. So I'm going to keep it kind of that way so that I could see what I'm doing there. I hope you could see it. It's kind of hard to do it when you don't have someone holding that, you know, I'm having to have the camera in front of me. So I'm just going to sew this way. And if you want, you can sew these tails in now to hide them. It's up to you. You could either do them either way. I think I'll hide that little one first. I'm just trying to, I didn't want to have the tails in the way so that I could show you what I'm doing. So here, let me put my hand here. I want to show you that I'm aligning these pieces. Okay. Now I'm going to go here and just sew, grabbing my little chain there, the little post. So this one, and I'm just sewing one side of the chain. See how there's 1, 2? I'm just sewing that other side there. You just do it the way that you feel comfortable. And I'm just going to sew it all the way up. Now that's my first row. It's even. Here's my next row. So I want to make sure that I keep these all even, guys. That way all your side seams are going to match up. It will look like you have an extra little work there, but don't worry about that. We're just trying to even out all your rows. And like I said, if you like to sew it a different way, then go ahead and do that. This is just how I'm doing it to make sure that my seams are all going to match. So see if, let me see if I can move that little tail. So if you look at it now, let me put my hand in there, you can see that, let me get, these tails are really bothering me here. So here now you will see that this is the first row, this is the second row, see how they're even? And now my third row, I'm going to even make it sure it's even there. So that's my third row. And I'm going to continue that way, making sure they're all even, nice and even. I don't get, you know, lopsided, crooked. And I'm going to sew this way till I get to the top. That's my third row, so my rows are completely even. See that? So row 1, row 2, row 3. Now row 4, I got to make sure that I make it even there. Right there. And this is going to be, have just the one double crochet at the end. But that's not a problem. You're just going to continue sewing up, making all your rows nice and even. You're going to sew this way all the way until you get to your mark or your safety pin. So just continue working this way, and I keep putting my hand here holding it to make sure my next row is even. And that's all there is to it. You're going to sew both sides. When we get to the end, we're going to go ahead and make a little knot, and then you could go ahead and weave that tail. I'll show you what it looks like when I get to the end, how I hide that yarn. So this is what we're doing, and inside, when you turn it over, see how it looks perfect? Everything is lining up. Row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. Everything will line up if you follow this tip that I'm giving you to open it up so you can make sure everything's even. So go ahead and finish this sewing up your side. Here, when I get here, I will show you how I tie that and bury my tail. Then you'll repeat the very same thing on your other side. So I'll go ahead and finish this off. We'll come back and show you how I finish that, and we'll go on and sew the second side. Okay, I've reached the end here. I was hoping I would have a little bit more yarn, but once you just reach the end here, I'm just going to go in once again and then make a knot there. So just put my needle there, and then this part I'm just going to sew it in, weave it in and out. That's what I was saying. I was hoping I would have a little bit more yarn, but I'd rather just weave it like you would a normal seam. Like that. And see if, let me see if I can get it in one more time. I don't know if I'll be able to. Nope. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I just worked it back and forth a few times. Now I will cut the yarn there, and I can remove my pin, and let me see. Well, the sun's really shining here. So now, as you can see, let me see if I can go back further. That side seam is sewn, and it's all nice and even. Here is where the seam started, and up to here, and then this is the opening for the sleeves, the arm openings. So this same way, I want you to sew your other side here, and then we'll come back, and then now once we've had this sewn, we'll work the bottom edge and we'll connect here, and then work the top edging, and then you'll be done. It's really an easy project. So go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and sew my other side, and then we'll come back and start working on our bottom trim. Our bottom trim is just we're going to just attach chain one, and we're going to work on our single crochets here along the bottom edge. Okay, so go ahead and finish the other side. We'll come back and work on the bottom.